Let's start by opening up Kripalu 45 in your exercise files and do a little work to it. Maybe come over here and try to recover some of those shadow areas. Maybe hit some highlights too. Maybe even change the exposure. So we've been working on this image for a while, but our goal here is not to just click, for example, done and move back to bridge, or go into Photoshop. What we want to do is save this image in a different format, but we really don't feel like we need to go through Photoshop to do that. That's our goal. Over here, you have a Save Image button. Go ahead and click it. You've got several options. Number one, do you want to save it in the very same location as the original, or do you want to save it in a new location and then select that right here? That's your choice. Number two, file naming. Now this is just like batch processing in Adobe Photoshop, where you can change the name into a serial number, into a date, month, year kind of thing going on. So we can change it and do that too if we want to. Number three is the file extension and the format down here. Now you'll notice it defaults to the DNG, which I'm a big fan of, to be honest with you. But if I change that, say, to a JPEG, this stuff changes to JPEG stuff. The same thing with TIFF, and the same thing with PSD. Let's go back to DNGs. The DNG format was created with one thing in mind: to help people over the years still be able to open up their proprietary files that were created with the raw applications in the digital camera formats. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Canon, Nikon, they all have their own form of RAW. Adobe didn't make those formats, they did. So what people are afraid of, and I can understand this, is that they're afraid that 10 years from today that format won't be supported anymore and they'll never be able to open up their great images. So Adobe came up with the DNG format. And what it is, it's a free program you can download from the Adobe site. But its purpose in life is to convert raw data into a format that will never go out of date. DNG, digital negative. Now, if you're here, you've got some options. For example, would you like to go backward compatible with the Camera Raw plugin? You might say, well, why would I do that? Well, maybe you have a client that doesn't have the latest and greatest, and you still want to give them the ability to open this image in their version of the Camera Raw plugin. Up to you. Down here, we have the JPEG previews. I like those at full size. I've mentioned that before earlier in this chapter. Embed fast load data. It increases the file size minutely, but it helps the image load faster. You can use loss E compression. I wouldn't on a DNG, but it will limit the size and compress the image based on that. Usually if I'm going to do something like that, I'm going to JPEG the image. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And embed original RAW file. That's an interesting feature. A lot of people feel that DNG isn't really the original image. Even though Adobe claims you've got everything, there's nothing missing. And they want the ability to keep the original image, and that's what that does. If you select this, you are effectively doubling the size of this file. If it's a 2 gig image, it's now 4. But it does guarantee that no matter how far in the future you go, you will still be able to open the DNG and you will still have access to the original raw image. Go ahead and click Save, complete the process. So if you don't want to go into Photoshop and you don't just want to save it back into the bridge, Save Image is your way to go. On to the next.